Morning. It's Sunday, June 27th. 2 days ago, I did a rant concerning the Supreme Court. And I said in the rant that particular decision was fairly liberal, and I thought that the court would be doing things that would surprise us. Decisions that would surprise us. Well, it's already happened. The Supreme Court has made a decision on the conservative side that has upset Jusrtice Thomas, one of the most conservative justices on the court. He said the decision was too extreme for him. On Friday, 5 conservative justices stole Congress's right. Justices took away from Congress the power to create new individual rights and protect victims by authorizing lawsuits when those individual rights were violated. And in taking away the rights from Congress, they gave those rights to the federal judges, to the federal courts, to be the authority to create new rights when needed for the people. It's a blatant violation, according to Thomas, of the Constitution and the function of the court and the function of Congress. The name of the case was TransUnion, a credit reporting agency, versus Ramirez. The case revolves around an individual's standing, his ability to file a suit in federal court. And it allows federal courts to hear only cases or controversies where there is harm to the individual. Now that's a tricky word, harm. Harm could be a physical injury or a mental injury or perceived injury. And there can be no physical damage necessarily. The Supreme Court in this case has decided that federal courts can only hear cases where a person suffered an injury in fact, also called a concrete harm. Well, in my mind, most concrete harms are obvious. You have a physical injury, or your constitutional liberties are affected. And maybe even a financial injury qualifies. But what about some things that are not so clearly defined? And in Friday's case, the TransUnion incorrectly flagged thousands of people as potential terrorists and drug traffickers. How did they do that? Well, in this day and age, if you use sloppy software, an inaccurate software system, then this catastrophe can happen. And in the case of TransUnion, where they deal with millions of records, a piece of sloppy software can produce hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of heinous errors in identifying people. Now, under the law, TransUnion was required to notify these people of their status or their change in status, and they neglected to do that. And not only that, they lied about certain things during the course of this episode. And it turned out that many of these people were denied credit because the TransUnion report had these people listed as serious criminals. And when many of these people asked for what they called the summary of rights, TransUnion declined to give it to them. And TransUnion was required by law to give you your summary of rights. So did the victims in this lawsuit who were denied their reports, did they suffer concrete harm as opposed to the ones who had been identified as serious criminals? Congress believes that they suffered concrete harm. All of these rules and regulations are included in the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which was passed in 1970. So the actions of TransUnion would be a violation of the Fair Credit Act, and that could be deemed to be an infringement of rights that could be vindicated in a federal court. First time this issue has come before the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court in the past had always said that Congress had those rights. But not now. Not now. Kavanaugh led the charge against those precedents, rejecting the moderate positions of the court of the past. So because of this ruling, 6,332 people who were falsely flagged as criminals and then lied to by TransUnion cannot receive any restitution from TransUnion because of this concrete harm ruling. Then, on top of this, a new rule was announced. Federal judges, not the people's representatives, get to decide which rights may be vindicated in the federal judiciary. So that means that all of these suits that have been brought to the federal courts over the years will not be allowed in federal court anymore. However, there's a loophole, and the loophole is that you can still sue in a state court. You can take these cases that would have been adjudicated in federal courts, and you can sue in state court. That is not a solution to the real problem, because this case can affect the future of class action lawsuits, which great big businesses have always been against. It will also affect civil rights actions, because discrimination becomes very difficult in the eyes of many to prove. Is discrimination concrete harm? So in the end, big business will probably be very happy because of the result of this decision by the Supreme Court, because class action suits have always been a pain in their ass. But we are giving up the right of our representatives to have a meaningful say in which of our rights should be protected by the courts. So, have we the people lost that right? After all, we don't vote for the federal court judges. We have no control over them. We the people control Congress, most of the time anyhow. So the fact that our rights are going to be determined by people that we didn't vote for is an affront to all of us. We should not be happy about this decision on many, many different areas. So I leave you with that. I leave you with that thought. And I'll see you in the morning. Bye.